Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. Brother Mike Marlon McGuire here from Wild Olive Trees. You know, sisters and brothers, we did a presentation on this topic a few months ago, but Lord put it on me this morning. I'm on social media. You just see, you're reading, you're strolling along, and you talk to people as you're walking around. You meet people and you're talking to them, and everybody wants to put their loved ones up in heaven when they die, right? They're dead. There's a little entity inside of them, and when they die, that little being or that little entity goes up to the third heaven where the Father, the Son, and the holy angels are, right? And that's just not so. It's a lie, and it comes from the father of lies, who is none other than Satan, the devil. And the churches on this earth have been indoctrinated with this false doctrine, right? This tradition of man trying to put us somewhere where we just don't go. And we're going to take a look at, we're just going to look at 4 scriptures, right? It's pretty crystal clear, the simplicity of Christ. That's why it's so important that we learn how to rightfully divide this word, and so we can walk in it, because it's basic instructions before living eternally. And we're all going to live eternally either on the right side of the kingdom as gods with God the Father and God the Son, Jesus and Jesus, or we're going to live eternally in the lake of fire with Satan the devil, third of the angels that followed him, and everybody else that's going in there with him, the false prophet and everybody else, right? All Satan's minions. That's why we want to make sure as Christians that we're following Christ according to his 66 books, rightfully divided, right? So no man has ascended to heaven. John chapter 3 verse 13 tells us that no man has ascended to heaven, but he who came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, who is in heaven right now, sitting at the right hand of the Father, waiting to make his enemies his footstool. Because when Jesus came through Mary to come into the flesh to die for our past sins, right? He rose on the 3rd day. He died on a Wednesday, rose on Saturday, just before sundown on the Sabbath, and he now sits with the Father at the right hand, waiting to make his enemies his footstool, as I said earlier, right? So we got to make sure we're walking according to his holy written word, right? We're just going to touch on 4 spots. This is going to be real quick, a few minutes with the boss of bosses, King of kings, right? Just a few minutes, this is about. And we're going to start this off in creation. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7, right? And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul, right? So there's our ingredients, right? We formed man from the dust of the ground, dirt, and breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, and man became a living soul. Before he breathed his breath of life, breath into his nostrils, man was dead. He wasn't alive. Dead soul, live soul. Once he breathed his breath of life into man's nostrils, man became a living soul, right? So that's 2 ingredients: dirt and breath. The breath of life, the breath of God, right? So all we are, the simplicity of it, is walking, talking dirt. Everybody on this planet. We think too highly of ourselves. We get on this ego, like egomaniacs. We get on this pedestal. I had a friend, my first mentor, used to say to me, "Hey, Mike, don't ever become an icon, because you get on that pedestal, you become an icon. As long as I'm around, I'm an iconoclastic. I'll knock you off that pedestal." And our iconoclastic in reality is the Lord. He'll humble us if we get into his instruction manual and study to show ourselves approved, right? And follow what thus saith the Lord, not what thus saith man, right? So, dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. Let's go to the next place. Let's go next chapter over. Genesis chapter 3, verse 19. Don't become an icon, sisters and brothers, because we're all going to have to answer to the Lord when he returns, right? We're all going to be judged according to our works. Genesis chapter 3, 1 verse here, verse 19. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground. For out of it thou wast taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. So when we die, right, nobody goes up to the third heaven where the Father, Son, and the holy angels are. We go back to the dust of the ground. We return to dirt that we were created from. Simple. Simplicity of Christ. It's in this book. We're reading it. I'm not giving you my opinion. It don't matter what I think or what your pastor or your preacher thinks. It's what thus saith the Lord. that he had written by his chosen prophets and apostles in these 66 books. But it's got to be rightfully divided. We all got to learn. I had to learn. This book made no sense to me till God put me in front of those he gave his oracles to. Because we're all supposed to be following God the same way. There's only one Lord, one faith, one baptism. There's only one truth. And it's according to these 66 books. But you got to learn how to study it properly so that we can all be obedient to it. The whole world's supposed to be following it just the way it's written here. We're all supposed to be following it the same way, sisters and brothers. Let's go to the next place. Job chapter 27. Let's see what the Lord had Job write about this breath, this spirit. Because the spirit comes in many forms, sisters and brothers. The spirit comes in many forms. The breath is a spirit, which we're learning here now, right? God and the Father and God the Son are spirits. The holy angels are spirits, right? So we're looking at this spirit in our nostrils, right? The ingredients of man. I passed Job. Here we go. We're in Job now. Job 27, we're going to read one verse. Verse 3, right? Learn how to rightfully divide this word. Here a little, there a little, line upon line. Look how it just flows together, because this book's not in chronological order. We got to learn how to tie it together. And we need to learn correctly, not be lied to and misinformed, right? So Job chapter 27, verse 3. All the while my breath is in me, and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils. So there you go. The Spirit of God, none other than the breath of life in our nostrils. Breath and dirt, what we were created from, right? Let's go to the next place. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. This is it. This is the last place. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. We're going to read one verse here. Verse 7. Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 7. Then shall the dust return to earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it, right? Genesis 2:7. He put the breath of life in man's nostrils, and he became a living soul. So the breath goes back unto God who gave it, not some little entity or being. Everybody who's died is asleep in the grave, waiting for the first or second resurrection when Jesus returns. Nobody's in the third heaven with the Father, Son, and the holy angels, sisters and brothers. Like Job said, hide me in the grave, Lord, until thy wrath is past, and set me in a appoint me a set time, right? And that's when he returns to set his government up. There'll be the first resurrection and the second resurrection. The rapture is a doctrine of the devil as well. It's not in this book. There is no such animal as the rapture. So that's what happens to us when we die. That's what really happens to us when we die, not according to Brother Mike, but according to what thus saith the Lord. And we read his book. We read his word. His word is spirit and it is life. And it is the truth for us all, sisters and brothers. So if nobody told you they love you today, I love you. But more importantly, the boss loves us when we fear him and keep his commandments. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and we're in there right now, so we're going to read it right from the book. Verse 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Let's read verse 14 too. For God shall bring every work, faith without works is dead, sisters and brothers, into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So put your work in. Read this book, study this book to show yourself approved. Have a wonderful Sabbath prep day. The Sabbath starts tonight at sundown. The Lord's Sabbath day is sundown Friday to sundown on Saturday. I love y'all. Grace and peace in King Jesus' holy and mighty, mighty name.